Note to self, never eat a ghost pepper. Hey guys, Lego Minecraft 369 here, back with another, or the second episode, I don't know, of command block tips and tricks, where I'm going to be showing off, oops, controls, okay, the air bubble and fireproof power-ups, as well as how to create the particles. If you haven't watched the second episode, or the first episode, I recommend you do. You don't really have to, but, yeah, so these two commands, or these two power-ups, the fire proof and air bubble. So first of all, you can probably guess exactly what they do. So they're literally just effects. So this one will affect anyone with a score of no fire of 1. It will give them resistance, or fire resistance for an infinite amount of time. And then this command, if they don't have it, it will clear their fire resistance. So, similar to the last episode. So, again, if you haven't seen it, then a little more explanation. So, slash effect, everyone, the team equal power-up test I made just so this doesn't interfere with any of my other contraptions in this world, because I've joined that team already, so it's not really necessary to have something like this unless you want it to be on actual teams only. Then, so, power up no fire, that's the objective I created for fireproof, of at least 1, to give you fire resistance for infinite time for 0. You really don't need any amount of time for this, it can be any. You just, oops, when you get the effect, you don't want, I don't really like having the numbers there in my hotbar, or, not hotbar, whatever this is, the GUI of it. And then this will basically it's the exact same command, except after this comes just the number 0, and that will clear the effect. And this is for anyone whose max score is 0. The same goes for the water breathing effect. You have power up bubbles of at least 1, you get 13, which is water breathing, 12 is fire resistance if I didn't say that, 13, 99990, and then 13, 0. So, if I hop in here, you see my fire shield, get fire resistance, and again, this is what I meant by this is why I have the 9999, just so I don't have like a time thing here. So you get fire resistance, and yeah, now, well, not only as necessary, but I go over here, I get fireproof, 1. Now, if you saw the last episode, you'll see that fireproof and air bubbles, these four you lose the power up after a certain amount of time, but this one, as soon as you touch water, you lose the power up. And kind of the opposite for water breathing. As soon as you see I have water breathing, here you can kind of see the particles, but as soon as you get above water, it's gone. So, how do I do this? Basically, if I, I guess here's the, so this is, again, a lot of this is 1.8, like, only made possible by 1.8. So, again, I'll explain these first 6 command blocks in each row are, the particles. I'll get to those afterwards. For both fire breathing and fire breathing? I said fire breathing and waterproof. Water breathing and fireproof, these are pretty much the same. You don't need as many commands. You probably would need more on, bubbles. Just the thing is, again, these are, proof of concept power-ups, as you can tell by the title. I'm not going to, so I'm not gonna like completely iron out each of these, and they're made to be spun off of, so you don't need to create air bubbles. You can create like strength when you're in water or something. So, yeah. This uses the new execute detect feature. So again, it executes at everyone with a bubble score of at least 1. Then you use the detect sub command, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but detect will basically it'll test for a certain block in a certain place. So for air bubbles, at 1.7 relative to the player, or 1.7 y vertical, and that means from where your feet are. So that's I chose 1.7 specifically just because it's like right where your nose or mouth is on the skin. So I thought that'd be kind of cool. So like that's when you can actually breathe air again. Then so detect the air block. That's what this is. Then it'll this is just the ID for, or the data for air. If you don't know how these work, it's basically, this is usually like the color of wool, the type of wood, the durability of an item. This is basically just kind of neat to have there. And if you're like, well, I don't really need it there, then just put a 0. Unless you like, again, if you want to, if you're testing for a certain wool color with detect, you'd put like whatever number wool. So if, oops. So if I had like, if I wanted to test for lime wool, I'd put wool 5. So anyway, that's, so basically it tests for any player with those criteria all the way back there. So then the rest of this, it'll set it'll set like one person's score with power up bubbles, or that person's score with power up bubbles. Pardon. Who, if they have at least 1, to 0. It wasn't really necessary. I don't think it's really necessary to have that needs to be at least 1, but I just put it in there for the heck of it. So again, if I go over to water breathing, you see it over here. If I go down here, my score is 1. Oh, and as soon as I get the water, it's 0. Here, let me see if I can slash game mode 3. Let me go really slowly. Let me slow myself down a lot. We go into F5 mode, so you can basically see like exactly where it is that I lose it. So yeah, like right around. Oop, secret keys. Okay, I don't know why I can't go down. It was like right, or it was right around there, you know what I mean. I think it was, whatever. And really the point of this shack was basically just to hide these 2 command blocks, just because like, hey, I made a pool, so why not make it look a little fancier. But again, you haven't seen the command blocks, so these basically, it works the same for the water one, just different coordinates. It sets redstone block here. Then this gets rid of the block, and this will set the score to 1. So again, if I go back over to fire and do that, then yeah, score of 1, I guess. So it's score of 1 as soon as I have the water, 0. So it works the same with fire, except it just tests for water blocks. So detect relative, water 0. So it tests at their feet for water, and then it'll set their score to 0, and then this tests at like above. So this tests, or here we go. So the first one tests here, the second one tests here. And you could make it a little more exact, a little more precise, like I did with the water, for the fire one. And again, I could have made a lot more command blocks for the water one, or I could have, because there's like, you can have doors and fences that you can go into for air, and that's kind of like cheating the power up. But I decided, like, you know what, I'll leave that in there. Or again, this is a proof of concept, so I don't really need to completely iron it out. And yeah, and that's pretty much it for the power-ups. Now I just gotta show you the particles. So for every one of these command blocks, they start out execute everyone with the score of whichever power-up of at least one, then /particle, or just particle. Now, here's the different particles command. So if you don't know how to use the particle command, basically how it works is you do the name of the particle, so which type. You do, I guess, relative to whoever's doing it where, or maybe just exactly where, I'm not sure. So usually this will be 0, 0, 0. And if you want to configure exactly where it is, it's a lot more helpful to use the execute difference instead of that. I don't know. Then XD, YD, and ZD, those are basically the radii from the original point. So it's how spread out you want the particles to be. Speed, it usually will tell you like how quickly the particles move. But there's some exceptions. For example, the redstone dust, it will change the color of the redstone dust depending on what the value is. Count, that's basically how many are spawned with each command, how many particles. And mode, I don't really know what that does, but that's not important for this. So this one, so it executes the fireworks spark, which is, I don't really need this anymore. Which is this command, or this particle, kind of based off the one from Sonic. That's why I chose this for the invincibility shield, the classic Sonic invincibility power-up. So use that command relative to where the player is. So both of these are relative values. Then a y, the y radius is 1. And then speed is 0.1, because believe me, these fireworks sparks are fast. If speed is 1 for these guys, look what happens. Yeah, it's too much. No, this one. So that's that one. For the redstone dust, executed at 0.2 relative y. Just, I don't really remember why, I guess to keep it off the ground exactly. I don't remember. Then red dust is redstone dust, but with a speed value of 100 and probably some other values, it will become like rainbow particles. And then then a count of 100 spawns 100 per second, or 100 per tick. And keep in mind, this is 20 times, so that's 2,000 particles per second. So this could be laggy for your machine. And again, I forgot to mention, this one spawns 10 a time, so that's 20 or 200 per second. So then again, it's a half radius, or each dimension's radius is a half a block. So again, if I go here, you can see I got this big rainbow trail. So yeah. And again, like just to show, like if I set this to 1, the speed, you'll get will be darker. But here, what was it? There was, how did I figure out? Was it 0? I think. One of them is just red, I think. Yeah. So if you set it to 0, you can get red. So it's like a blood color, I guess. I could use that for a butcher now that I think about it. So let me just set that back to 100. Okay, so now butcher. Butcher particle is smoke. Smoky looking. The particle name is large smoke. Little on my face. So at relative 1 to the player, I don't want it spawning in the ground really. That's the case for most of them, but that, as you can see, that one was an exception. So particle large smoke, I think there's a smoke particle, but it's a different type of particle for some reason. So I wouldn't yeah, I wouldn't use the smoke particle. Just warning. Then in the X and Z, so the both horizontal dimensions, there are half block radii, and then speed is a 20th, because again this is another one that's crazy at a speed of 1, and then it spawns 5 per second. So if I go over here with the speed of 1, like it's just like, yeah, well, I want more condensed than that. What is this? What does that particle even go with in the game? I don't even know. So yeah, if I go like even 0.1 is pretty fast, or I mean it's not really that fast, but you want it more compressed maybe. See, that's not, and it's, yeah, a lot of these particles get up in your face a lot. So then, toxic trail. This one is again like actually on the ground, just because like it's a trail, so it like follows where you walk. This particle is witch magic. It's a 0.5 radius, or all are 0.5 radii. And then speed 100. I don't really think speed has anything to do with this one actually. And count 100. So yeah. For fireproof, I use the flame particle. At relative half. So half Y, I guess. And I compressed it as much as I could. Then I set the speed very low, because again, this is another really fast one. And I spawned 10 a second. So like again, if I go back over this, it says that speed is 1/20th. I mean, that's pretty fast if you think about it. And yeah, and this is all compressed into one spot. So that's where all the particles are emanating from. And then last one, the water ones. Now, particle splash looks really cool. But I was going to use particle bubble, but bubble is another weird particle like smoke. So let me just show it to you here. Actually, this might be a little too many. Hold on, let me see. 0.5, 1.5. Let me just copy this. Oh my word, forgot to set the splash. This is what this originally looked like. Actually, I think I had less. But when you're underwater, this command, or these particles don't show as much, so that's why I have so many. So I think if it was like above water, it would look something like this. It would have if water didn't do this. I would have set to like this. The reason I didn't do the bubble one, which seemed like, why wouldn't I do that one? Is because I think I said this already, but bubble was another weird power up. So yeah, I think was this 10? I think. Yeah. Okay. So it was another weird power up that it was like super laggy. So you just don't want to use that power up. And yeah, that's it for the power ups. Just a couple other commands to show off. Really, all that was left was these. I'm pretty sure the only thing left, scoreboard displaying ones. So these commands are basically just scoreboard objectives, set display, sidebar. So set display can be shown, I think, above player heads and also in the tab menu, but that last one doesn't, or neither of those really work when you're in a single player world. But sidebar is this thing over here, so you set the display of power up whatever to that, and then same with bubbles, toxic, butcher, rainbow, and inv. And then having nothing there just clears it. So it says cleared objectives display slot sidebar. So like that. Anyway guys, that was it. Okay, that's it. I need to know what's going on down here. the what? Oh my god. Wait, is this? Oh no. See ya!